Come stop and take a trip down on my block, where you see hidden potential, young minds sharper than Ginsu, and ain't afraid to speak their mind if they got something against you. We standing with you, we tackle issues like civic pride. Hate will cease to exist, just put our differences aside. From my side to your side, from Dutchtown to South Side, from Penrose to North Side, from Benton Park to Old North, the West End to West Side. We blessed when we step out, we stand down, rise up, stand together, wise up.
This is StitchCast Studio, produced by St. Louis Story Stitchers in St. Louis, Missouri.
In this week's episode, our StitchCast sits down with John Wright Jr. and John Wright Sr. for a conversation about Black history in St. Louis in this live edition of StitchCast Studio.
They say who that, but you already knew that. That be them story stitches. Story stitches, story stitches, story stitches, story stitches.
So I want to ask a question to everybody again, and I want y'all to start it off. What is your favorite time in St. Louis history? Like, what period is your favorite period?
You said in St. Louis?
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about 2016 with the music.
Yeah.
So
That's real.
2016 was a good year for music.
It was a good summer. I was in middle school? I think I was.
I ain't gonna fake it. I think now is a really good time for St. Louis. I'm not gonna lie.
Now?
Yeah, I do. I think some of the violence numbers in St. Louis are down. I think St. Louis is getting a lot of positive attention for a change. I think a lot of people that are from St. Louis are prospering right now and leading in a lot of industries. We just got a soccer team, you know what I'm saying? Even though we don't have an NFL team, we do have an XFL team, you know what I'm saying? So we still, it's U now? It's UFL now? The Battlehawks is in the UFL now? Okay, cool. I wasn't even hip on that. So yeah, we got a UFL football team. We have people leading in every industry. We got top-notch basketball players playing in the NBA. We got
music producers.
Yeah, for sure. Top-notch music producers playing in the industry, like the in the highest level that you could be in.
Metro.
Yeah, Metro for sure. Even vocal and musical artists, you know what I'm saying? I know Sexy Red ain't everybody's cup of tea, but it ain't no denying that she popping at the top of the top right now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and then you got people like Hitman Holla, like it's, y'all don't remember when it was just Nelly?
Yeah.
Like when Nelly was the only one that people could name from St. Louis. But yeah, so I ain't gonna fake it. I think today was, I think now is a pretty good time for St. Louis. I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think we'll ever be perfect. It'll always be stuff that need to be fixed. You know what I'm saying? 100%, especially in a city like St. Louis. But I can't think of another time since I've been alive where St. Louis has been doing as well as it is right now. What about y'all? When is it?
I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
It's about a good time. Seeing the ugly times, it's coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Long ways to go.
Black mayor and black state representative.
It's a good time.
Yeah, I think so.
Got a lot to work on, but it's still better.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think there'll always be a lot to work on. It'll always be something to work on, and we'll work on it. I think we'll work on it. Sure, 100%. Is there any time outside of this one where y'all feel like St. Louis was really thriving and doing a good job?
Not thriving, because there are times when the African American community was doing in the community, but not as a city as a whole. You know, you always have places where you may be doing okay, but the rest of the places people catching hell. Yeah. So I think all around us is being lifted up to a certain degree.
Yeah, I would agree. Catch a L. That's not something I would have expected you to say.
Huh?
You said everybody else catch a L.
I think when the hospital was up and thriving up until about 1970 or so.
You're talking about Homer G. Phillips?
Homer G. Phillips.
Gotcha.
Because you had so much around it that was positive. And you look at the after effects of what's happened since it's gone and what's happened to the neighborhood. So when you talk about a thriving time, that to me, in my memory and recollection, was a once thriving time. You only had a handful of black medical schools in the country, which whittled down from about 7 to 2 down to 2, which would have been Meharry and Howard, and no place for people to do their residencies once they graduated from school, no matter what medical school they went to, because they weren't accepting black residents. So all of a sudden you need a place for these people to practice. So St. Louis takes the best doctors the medical community has to offer because they have a residency program for them to practice. So when you're coming to Homer G, you are getting some of the best medical care in the country.
Wow. Am I mistaken, or are they building a new Homer G. Phillips?
No, that's a sham operation.
Oh,
Jefferson.
Word.
That's sham.
Word.
Two or three beds, That's sham.
What?
It's sham. Capitalizing off the name. That's sham.
Oh, word. So it's not.
No.
It's not. So you saying it's not an actual hospital?
Played.
Felt.
There's a fight going on right now. It's a lawsuit.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
You have a group of former trainees suing the man who's running that, saying you can't take that name. It means something.
So it does.
They are incorporating the name and saying it can only be used by the people who had Homer G. Phillips. They want to put it so no one can use it, but only in reference to the hospital. But see, I grew up in that area.
Right.
My mother worked at the hospital. Mm-hmm. But that was nice for that community. Mm-hmm. It was the community, everybody lived together, like I told you. The doctors' sons and the children all went to school together with everybody, the janitors. And it was a special place in time growing up. And so because the money stayed in the community several times before it disappeared, but that was a good time. But it was for that community. I know outside of that, folks in Kinloch were catching hell. And raggedy homes and no services, no trash pickups. And so you have...
Wow.
Huh?
So what were they doing with the trash situation?
You burn it.
Word. They was burning the trash?
Yeah. Yeah, bad when I was out there.
But when you have the ash pits, though, you have other problems.
Got rats.
Word.
Yeah, when we had ash pits, we used to burn trash in St. Louis. We had ash pits. On the way to school, you see the rats, big rats. And then they got rid of the ash pits and put garbage cans in. The dogs would knock them open, and the rats would come out. You take the alley route on the way to school, you see all the rats going around the garbage can.
What?
In the pastime, taking bricks with you on the way to school.
Word. Oh my God. Word.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You know what time it is. Time for another StitchCast Studio Arts Interlude. That's right, it's time to pick the city up. This week, we have a Story Stitches original piece entitled Will They Remember?
A while ago, I went strolling with a friend down some back streets. I thought that he was happy till he stopped and he asked me, "What is the why of my city?" Immediately, I thought, what a weird way to phrase a question. Pretending I didn't know what he meant when he said it, he, unimpressed, sighs and repeats himself, "What is the why of my city?" If we were to jump forward 1,000 years, what would they say about my city if my city was no longer here? Would they remember Jackie Joyner, Chuck Berry, Red Fox, Maya Angelou, Dick Gregory, Miles Davis, Dred Scott? Will they remember how quickly St. Louis bodies piled cemeteries, or that my city birthed legends because my city is legendary? Now my friend thinks I'm a therapist. He's depressed, and depression is more deceptive than appearances. Appearances can be deceiving, and friends can be greedy, and friends can be needy. And my friend tends to meet me at the corner of broke and brokenness. He reminds me for a while what it's like to feel his hopelessness before taking a break from that to remind me of how alone he is. And homie is a soldier. But say lately he done had this worthless feeling, this nervous wreck, unprotected feeling. He can't even help it feeling, helpless feeling. And I can't help but feel him. He says, "I used to be stronger than I am now. I fought harder, ran longer. When I had to stand my ground, then I always stood taller than I stand now. It's very rare that I stand now. Don't want to stand out." And as I looked at his broken face, I saw a willingness to stay in a broken place. I thought, what would Rosa say? She'd probably tell you to stand up, tell you to stand out, tell you that sometimes the best way to stand up is to sit down. And would you listen? Or did you forget that we come from a line of warriors? It is not pressure, but what you do with it that defines us. A coal and mind is mindless. It's pressure that makes diamonds, and you are a diamond. So the next time you're hurt or you're scared or you're tired and you're about to give up, remember that the fight is for the fighters. And for all of your talk of love for Maya, if you were the caged bird, would it still sing? Because we are at war with injustice and we have no place for a dreamer who is too afraid to dream. They are not good for anything but those that are unafraid to dream. They're remembered as kings and they're remembered as queens. Thank you. All right. He said, my aim is immaculate.
One of the earliest dream things I have as a youngster, about 4 years old, never have left my mind. Rats were heavy. You have to know that.
Uh-huh.
As a youngster, we had a rat in the house.
Felt.
We had a stove with killing, put it in there, it glowed.
Uh-huh.
Took the chain around the leg of the table, and we had to be quiet. And the rat came out and got us. But rats were a problem.
Felt.
Yeah, they have things that drive away the rats and everything else. They got big, and mothers had to watch it because they'd chew on babies.
Word?
Yeah, because if you got a problem, if you have an infestation of rats, mothers have to watch the babies. You have to try to get rid of them. Yeah, they're not like the little things you see now. I mean, talking about things, they had traps with chains around them on the trap so they wouldn't drive it off. So, I mean, we had that when I was growing up.
My God, really? Yeah, so it was New York rats, essentially, in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Felt right. How they get here? Felt, whoa. Okay, which brings me to my next question. And it's for everybody. How did growing up in St. Louis shape you?
I feel like growing up in St. Louis kind of taught me how to not be a byproduct of my environment, almost. Like, your neighbors could be anybody, and just not being influenced by the people around you and just coming out and still maintaining your own identity and your own sense of self is, one of the biggest things.
I agree. Same thing for me, but it's most like with the people around you, like your friends, you start to see a shift in them.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. See somebody go from a straight into smoking weed and stuff like that.
I didn't see it within a school year,
Yes, within a school year, fighting. I'm like, oh my God. But I'm glad I never went down that path. I'm here going to college, so yeah.
What about you? We ain't heard from you yet.
Probably just being humble, I think, and also just because a lot of people, we have a lot of talent in our city, but our city is full of haters, compared to Atlanta or New York or something like that. So talking about be humble and also have support for yourself, because a lot of people in St. Louis, they don't show support to others. I think that's one of our biggest problems. So just being able to lift yourself up when your city is not really used to that.
Felt. I think St. Louis kind of gave me a humbleness and a confidence. Especially when I'm out in other cities, and it's probably not a good thing, but when I'm out in other cities or whatnot, and they be like, "Hey, be careful, it's dangerous over here." But so, but no, even outside of that, I think being in St. Louis as an artist, I've bumped shoulders with some of the dopest people I've seen, whether on a TV or regardless, some of the most dope people I've ever met, some of the most dope people I've ever seen. And knowing that people like that are out there kind of keeps me sharp as an artist. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that I might bump into this person at this event, and they probably performing at the same event I'm performing at. So I got to make sure I'm sharp, stuff like that. I think I get that from growing up in St. Louis, and also an awareness of surroundings and what people doing and what people saying. The people around you, you know what I'm saying? I think people from St. Louis kind of learn to be a little vigilant, and that's not to say that people from other cities don't become vigilant, but I think that's kind of how St. Louis shaped me. What about y'all? How did St. Louis shape y'all and who y'all are?
Well, I grew up in a poor area of the city, and I live in a nice area of the city now. And so
moving on up.
Moving on up.
Moving on up,
Like Jefferson.
Canyons in the sky, But where you live has a lot to do and who you associate with. Many of us get together Many of my classmates are gone. True. I went to my neighborhood. I don't know who I could call from my old neighborhood. They're still alive. And some of them were taken out by drugs. Some of them were taken out by gang fights. But there's a lot of opportunities if you survive. There are a lot of opportunities. Like I said, I was with the Salvation Army growing up when I moved out because that was the only place black kids could go. And the minister got me a trip to London. So at 16, had an experience of traveling abroad. That was the only time stayed with a white family in Leon-C. Yeah, first time. Once I crossed the river in Illinois, it was a different world. We stayed at a hotel with whites and blacks, stayed at the hotel together, got on the train together, got on a ship going across the sea together. You didn't have that experience until once I crossed the river. And you begin to realize soldiers, when they come back you put them under this concentration camp, how they rebel. You know, it's just hard to make the adjustment. But you know there's a better world and a different world out there. And you begin to search for that world. And my wife and I, we travel all over the world now. But it was that early experience that made me want to do it and not be afraid to do it. And I think the more we get exposed to each other in different ways of living, and I have a napkin ring now. I was sitting at the table. I said, "What's this?" I'm 16 over there. That's a napkin ring. What do you do with it? Put napkins in it. So I still got that napkin ring. When I was 16, we traveled over there. And so, but you're shaped by your friends, your acquaintance, and where you live. And the more exposure you have, the more opportunities you take advantage of. And I think I've been blessed to have lots of opportunities and been blessed to be able to go to a number of places, which has shaped me in a different way. I think my jobs have helped me. When I first started teaching, I taught at Marshall Elementary School. And my kids, all kind of kids. I mean, I had some. Now, first job I was at the juvenile court. I had murders, robbers, and everything. I mean, they all had to be locked up. So you learn to get along with those folks. I remember when he was young, we were at the ice cream parlor, and one kid came in, was all went to one, pulled his gun out. I said, "You don't want to do that. You put the gun up and left." But you learn how to get along. One thing you know too, those in jail are allowed to let you keep them. I was on the floor sometimes with 95 kids by myself. If you don't know how to take care of things, they will take you out. And they see you on the street too. And they can take you out. So you learn how to maneuver and live and respect everyone.
Oh, wow. What about you?
My experience is a whole lot different. To the credit of my mother and father. We grew up in a community that was very diverse, and the things that I took for granted then, like one day I was eating breakfast with my wife's uncle, who's a Catholic bishop, and he saw me eating at a buffet. I was eating bagels, lox, and cream. And he said, "You eat Jewish food," but to me, it wasn't Jewish food that registered. It was food, because this is a food that my friends and neighbors ate. Yeah. And so it didn't register with me until then that for his experience it was Jewish food, but for me it was just food. Like I eat gyros and baklava, spanakopita.
What are these things?
It's Greek food.
Felt.
Living in the Loop, we lived near the Loop when I was with them, with my parents, and on my own, I was living in the Loop. I experienced different cultures, different food. Things are dramatically different but having the experience of having different tastes and trying different things. When I met my wife, they eat to this day a ton of Creole food at one point in my life. The one thing that I appreciated most growing up was about the associations and the friends that I had. I loved my high school class, U City class of 81. The amount of successful people in there and just everyday people from we've got Marlon West, who won an Oscar for Frozen. He's an animator. to we have Arthur Jemison, who is in UFC 1. So that, and a whole lot in between, the numbers of doctors, lawyers, musicians, all of this, as I said, in a very special class and some extraordinary people. And for me, I really loved growing up in U City at that time and having those associations. As I said, we were, special. At least I see us as being that way. And that was because my parents put us in that neighborhood and in that situation. I don't know about being hungry. I don't know about having to hit rats with bricks. I don't know about being cold. There might have been things that I wanted growing up, but there was never anything that I needed growing up. And that is a testament to my mother and father.
Wow, lovely. I do have one more question that I want to ask everybody on the floor. But before we do that, I want to let everybody in the audience and everybody on the floor know that we are immediately concluding the podcast with an open mic. So if y'all are interested in getting up and performing or whatever the case is, holla at Blue, the DJ, you know what I'm saying? So we can make sure we got some music for you to do so too. But yeah, if you want to sing a song, if you want to rap, you know what I'm saying? If you want to show off what you do, right, it does need to be clean. So yeah, keep that in mind. But yes, we are doing an open mic after the podcast is over. So the last question that I want to ask, of course, I want to hear from you too, but I would like to hear from everybody if y'all have an answer for this question. First of all, what is something from the past that you wish you had now, and what is something that you have now that you wish you had in the past? I got a pretty good imagination now. I wish I had the imagination that I had when I was younger. When you're a kid, like, the sky's the limit for real. Like, you don't really think about the limitations of life or whatever. So, what I'm saying? I wish I kind of still had that. I got a decent amount of it. Actually, I'll take that back. I wish I had, like, the agility that I had as a kid. You know how, like, you could just get out the bed and hit 10 backflips and you don't pull no muscles or nothing like that. Like, you just gravy. Like, I wish I had that. Or, like, your metabolism was so quick that you do, like, 10 sit-ups and you got a six-pack. And stuff like that. I wish I still had that in my life. Something that I have now that I wish I had then is probably knowledge. I've learned a lot, and who knows? I mean, I'm not saying that I would do things differently, because I feel like doing them the way that they did led me to where I am, and I'm happy with where I am. But I probably could have. I might be further if I knew what I knew now back then. I'm still happy with where I am now, though. What about the rest of y'all?
I think I would definitely love to have, like, the boldness I had as a child, because kids, they say whatever comes on the top of their mind without thinking, which got me in a lot of trouble back then. But I think if I just had a little bit of that right now, I'd be a lot more confident. But I also wish that I was a lot more, like, self-aware at the same time when I was younger, because I feel like the balance that could be there when you have, like, boldness with self-awareness, that's a really nice combination. If I had that,
you don't even know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, for what I have now is my opportunities and availability to, like, access to money that I wish I had it in the past, because I ain't grow up with it a lot, but I wasn't, like, starving for nothing. This is, like, mostly, like, for things I wanted, like, for leisure, and having, like, access to that, like, now is a very great thing, even though I don't like spending because of that. And something I would like
that you had in the past that you wish you had now.
Okay.
And something that you have now that you wish you had in the past.
Probably confidence. Because it's like, I don't know what happened. It's like I hit middle school and I hit high school. Like, something happened. There was, like, a shift in my brain. I guess I kind of lost it a bit, but I'm going back through the emotions, so I'm getting back to it. Yeah.
Well, I wish I would have had studied more when I was younger.
And
I didn't. People said they finished summa cum laude. I finished thank you laude. So I've learned a lot. I got my doctorate, did my dissertation, been a lot of places, done a lot of things. I'm glad that my opportunities. I always wondered if I would have made my application. If I had put summa cum laude on the application for something, would have had more opportunities. And so that's only you always regret. But I have been blessed to go where I've been, do the things I've done. And so you always think back when you're in groups. When people bring out certain things, I wish I had studied this more. I could take advantage of that. So, but it's good. I tell people, don't give up. Just keep persevering.
Yeah.
I wasn't at the top of the honors, so I said, go for it, man. But you got to persevere. You've got to persevere. You can't give up. You got to believe in yourself and persevere.
Message.
You'll make it.
Yeah.
Fire. And you?
I wish I had the understanding now that I had after having children. I remember when my son was little and having to be patient when he was trying to tell me something. And I knew that he knew what he was talking about, and I knew not to blow it off. And it took a while to figure out what he was talking about and what he was saying. And I had to ask him because I could see his frustration with me because he knew what he wanted to say and he couldn't figure out, because I'm the dad, why I didn't understand. And it took a while. He was saying something that he had saw in a cartoon, actually it was a Barney episode. and not being a Barney fan and not paying close attention, it took us several weeks before that episode re-aired, and then all of a sudden I knew what he was saying. I knew what he was talking about. And it taught me to be patient, and it taught me to be that, and then having a daughter, which I did, sons are one thing, making sure they get dressed, whatever else is relatively simple. But when you have a daughter, it is not. Nope. It is not. And
so I've heard.
And my wife was on me about this, in particular because we had a swimming pool. And when my daughter would get out of the pool, her hair would be... Whereas my son, who didn't have very much hair to deal with, it was really, here's a towel, let's keep it moving.
Felt.
But learning how to help her and to deal with her and the things that she was experiencing and she was facing, because I didn't have any sisters. And so it taught me to be better about how I saw and how I interacted with women, because I could see how, as a father, how I would want people to interact with my daughter. When you don't have that connection, then all's fair. But then the rules change when you have that personal connection. Both my children have been a blessing and a learning experience, and I learn from them every day. And I'm hoping that the things that I had learned before them and the things that I was able to do better or try to get right, they were able to get from me. So with that, that's how I would like to see myself as being, if I could take a younger self, I would take what I learned from them and go back to be better. And hopefully that's what I've had now, I've been able to in some way influence and pass on the me that I am today. So
that's a beautiful answer. It's a beautiful answer, both of y'all. So shout out to y'all. Thank y'all so much. Dr. John A. Wright, both of you, thank you so much. That being said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to yet another episode of StitchCast Studio. I've been your host, Branden Lewis, and we are signing off with both John A. Wrights.
Good night.
And we out. Thank y'all.
St. Louis Story Stitchers. StitchCast Studio Live is supported in part by an award from the National Endowment for the Arts on the web at arts.gov. Story Stitchers is supported in part by the Lewis Prize for Music's 2021 Accelerator Award. The mission of the Lewis Prize is to partner with leaders who create positive change by investing in young people through music. StitchCast Studio, St. Louis Story Stitchers, and the Center is supported by Kreisberg Arts Foundation as a resident organization. Thank you for listening.
They say who that, but you already knew that. That be them story stitches. Story stitches, story stitches, story stitches, story stitches.